Welcome to Family on Purpose, where we want every family to win, and we are constantly looking at improving ourselves and helping you to live on purpose in your home. Today, we're talking about 8 keys to help your child thrive in the future. Help them succeed spiritually, relationally, emotionally, even financially. We're going to cover the top 8 today. Before we dive in, I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast with your friends and family, maybe even your kids, so that they too can be a family on purpose and end up somewhere intentionally, successfully. Also, we have 8 key things that will go into depth on that episode guide, totally free. We'll link that in the description below. And lastly, Family on Purpose is a completely donor-funded, donor-contributed organization, and we need your help to continue to reach and impact families. To create great content like this, to give it away free, we need you to join us on the mission to reach families and help them be a family on purpose. Okay, you ready, babe?
I'm ready.
Okay, we've got 8 powerful keys to set your child up for success. Let's go with number 1. What is it?
Number 1, teaching your children to love the Lord through having their own faith.
That's right. Have their own faith. What does that mean?
So if we take the Shema from Deuteronomy seriously, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your strength. And that passage goes on to say that the parents are teaching to how to love the Lord all day. When they leave their home, it's on their doorpost. When they lie down, they're coming, they're going, teaching their children to have their own faith. Because it's easy to piggyback. Oh, my mom's a believer. My dad's a believer. My mom's walking closely with the Lord. It doesn't mean that your child is walking closely with the Lord. And so having them develop their own personal relationship with their Savior.
Yep, I agree. And it's easy to say, no, I grew up in a Christian home. We go to church. We do churchy things. We go to Sunday school or church, youth group or whatever it is. No, your child having a faith of their own is the number 1 most important decision in their life.
Right. To
follow Christ, to pursue Christ, to know his word, and to understand it intimately in their heart, because Jesus changes things. Mm-hmm. He renews things. And we want our children to be new and renewed and the best them that they can be. And the only way they can do that is with a personal relationship with Christ.
That's right.
You can read every leadership book you want. You can be the smartest, most financially successful person. But if they're not walking with the Lord, they are missing a gigantic piece of their life and missing out on eternity. So let's make sure they don't do that.
That's right. That's right.
Anything else on number 1?
I think I want to charge parents, take that role seriously as being your children's personal pastor. Because, we can see a pastor on church, at church, but we may not have a personal relationship with that pastor. To intimately shepherd us, be your child's shepherd. Lead them to the Lord through whatever means, through the communicable traits of the Lord that they can see through us. Let them know, a father, okay, when it says something in the scriptures, God is slow to anger, rich in abounding love. He's merciful. Imitate those traits of the Lord. Let them see the Lord through you. Talk about him, praise him, worship him. Do all of that, foster and nurture that relationship for the Lord.
That's good. And I would follow up on that and say, don't be afraid. Don't be nervous or concerned because maybe you don't know all the answers. And what if they ask a question that we don't know the answer to?
Right.
Don't be nervous. It's okay. Be authentic and real in that situation. And just lean into it. That you've said, I've heard somebody else say it. I feel like I've heard 2 or 3 moms say, man, I am such a good minivan pastor. Like a mom in the front seat driving that van and preaching to her kids in the back seat. They are a captive audience and they hear the word and they understand.
That's right.
Be a minivan pastor or be a pickup truck pastor if you're a dad, right? Yeah. Or whatever car you drive. Be a pickup truck pastor. Don't be afraid to talk about it while you're driving around in the car and be bold about it.
Yeah.
Lean into it.
They need to make bumper stickers like that, I think. I've never seen one, but I think there could be a real market for that.
Pastor driving, right?
And Derek, you bring up a good point about not knowing all the answers, and that can feel intimidating. But I want to say that saying, I don't know to a question that you don't know is perfect, because you don't have to know everything. I don't think that our children are looking at us to be theologians. They're looking for an honest person that they can follow. And so when you say, I don't know the answer to that, and there's plenty of times that you and I have said that to them, that's okay. That's perfect. But go and find the answer. So don't feel intimidated when you don't know the answer. I don't know, babe, but hey, I'm going to find out. I'm going to do some research and find out.
We have an Ask Us Anything episode, and one of the questions submitted for that was, have your children ever asked you a spiritual question that made you like, I don't know the answer? Mm-hmm. Great question. We want all your questions so that we can do another Ask Us Anything, but it's not just us that feel that way. It's other parents that feel that way. Man, my 9-year-old asked a theological question and I don't know the answer. Yeah. That's okay.
Right.
Let's go look at it together. Let's get some of the brains of Christianity, and I guarantee they've thought through it and they have answers. Yeah. Lots of great resources out there for that.
For sure. For sure. So number one key to setting your child up for success is them having their own faith, their own personal relationship with the Lord.
That's right.
Okay.
Number two, the second key to setting your children up for success is helping them choose their spouse. Now, that might sound overbearing. That might sound completely controlling in today's Western world. And I am not saying an arranged marriage. Not what I'm saying. But Gina, who you marry, luckily, gosh, he was handsome. He's strong. Yeah. He's smart. He's all the things. But
best guy ever. Come on.
What part of your life do I affect?
Every single part. I would say, aside from my salvation in the Lord, who I chose as my spouse has had the second most effect on my entire life. And that's on everything. That's on my future, my past, my present. All of it is entangled with you and the oneness with you. And it affects every single detail of my life.
Yeah. So why would we not be involved in helping our children not choose, not say, hey, go for that girl or that guy, but hey, why would we not, if it's going to impact their life, the lives of our grandchildren, the lives of our great-grandchildren and every future generation, why would we not help them to identify, hey, traits or personalities? Hey, I know you better than anybody knows you, son or daughter, Jack, Sawyer. Hey, I know you. That one might be a struggle for you.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like, right. Hey, I know she's really pretty, but let's look at these personality traits. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, I see this young woman and I see integrity and character in her. Mm-hmm. And these character traits would benefit you, and not just for his benefit, but like, hey, these are good, strong biblical character traits that are that are good in a spouse. Yeah. Let's look for those.
That's right. That's right. I think so many times it's hands off for parents when it comes to their children's relationships and even their children's future spouse. And I think we're coming to the point where now, some men ask for their daughter's hand. I think that was very commonplace.
Right.
And I think the trend is getting away from that, not asking for permission. And so there is a lack of involvement and parent participation in helping your child, navigate who to choose for a spouse. And like you're saying, we're talking about the young woman who would have godly traits. Hey, those qualities would make a great wife for someone. I don't know if it's right for our son or not.
Right.
And not that we're even thinking about that at the age of our children, but one day we will. And those are some of the dialogue that we will have with our kids.
I think about it. I think about it right now.
I think about it. I don't talk about it too. I mean, we talk about God. We don't talk about individuals. We talk about character traits.
Very true. Very true. So like for Sawyer, probably in our family, our number one book series that we love the most is The Ranger's Apprentice. Great book series. I'll link it in the description below. But there's 9 books in the original series, and it follows a group of characters and their adventures And one of them, his name is Horace. And he's this big muscular guy, super handsome in the book, it says. But he also has this high level of integrity. Like he is right is right and wrong is wrong. And he's strong, but he's gentle. He's kind when he needs to be kind, and he's fierce when he needs to be fierce. And we joke, but not so much joke, that one day we want Sawyer to find her Horace. I want her to find her Horace, her man that is strong and kind and gentle and high in integrity and brave and all of that. Yeah. So why would we not set the standard at Horace?
I love the character traits of Horace. And something that we have done with our teenage kids is we've made lists of attributes that, hey, what is it that you look for in a spouse? And so I have a little spiral notebook and a page dedicated to Sawyer in there and a page dedicated to Jack. And as they think, maybe we've watched something on TV or have read a book with a Horace character trait in there and something that ignites something in them like, okay, yeah, that would make for a great spouse. And so we kind of add that to that list and it gives me things to pray about.
Right.
Lord, send Sawyer someone with unswerving integrity. Like this is something that she is attracted to.
Yeah.
And it's something that is godly and righteous. And so having those
That's good.
conversations of the character traits that we're looking for and the things that we want to avoid, because your spouse is going to affect every single detail of your life, every day of your life. Yep. Help your children navigate that. What are they looking for? And share stories, share success stories. Hey, you know what? Your own success stories or of people that hey, I see this in their marriage. They've been married for 40 years and look at this. This is the way this husband is or this wife is, or talk about the demise of a marriage.
Right.
Hey, here are some things that went wrong in this marriage and stuff that they know to steer clear from, because it's so much more than just that physical attraction, because that can come, that can go, but it's like, God, he didn't look at David. He didn't look at his brothers. He looked to the heart. And so teach your children, look to the heart of this person and who they are in their core.
That's good. And I love the phrase that you put there, parent participation, because I want to be a trusted advisor in their lives.
Right.
That's what I want. I'm not going to choose their spouse out of a lineup.
Right.
But I want to be a trusted advisor in them deciding on who they should marry.
Yeah. And it takes a relationship, because I can think off the top of my head, I can think of somebody that off the top of my head was warned, hey, don't marry this person. I don't think that they're right for you. Person goes on, marries that person, and then it ends in divorce. And so what is the why there? Was it not trusting dad's leadership? Was it not, was it being led by the flesh or whatever? And, I guess they're 30 years beyond that marriage now, maybe more. And like, I was told not to do this and I did it. And then just the baggage that they've had to carry with them has been difficult for 30 years now, or probably 40 years. I don't know.
Who is it?
I'll tell you after the podcast.
Okay. Hey, number one key that we can set our children up for success is having them love the Lord and have their own faith. Number two, participate in, as a trusted advisor, helping your child choose their spouse. The third key to setting your children up for success is having a growth mentality for you and for them.
What does a growth mentality mean?
A growth mentality is working to improve yourself on a daily basis, monthly basis, annual basis. Hey, I want to be the best me that I can be spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and I'm willing to put in work to have that growth.
Okay. I like that. So that's kind of the opposite of being stagnant.
Yep. No laziness.
Yep.
No stagnant.
That's right.
There is no, well, this is just who God created me to be, and so I'm going to be this way forever.
Yep. That's right.
Opposite of that.
Yep. And that is definitely a phrase of resignation that, I'm always this way. I'm a hothead Italian. It's always going to be this way. That's not the truth. Okay, great. And so that's not only for the kids.
Nope.
You're also saying that's for the parents as
I'm
well.
saying kids have a growth mentality.
Mhm.
Parents have a growth mentality. I don't believe that it's best for your children. You can set them up for success if you refuse to get better. Hey, let's be more mature. Let's have a better understanding. Let's read leadership books. Let's read parenting books. Let's grow spiritually in our relationship with the Lord. I mean, if we go back to number one, we can't fully push our kids to have a relationship with Christ if we are not pushing in our relationship or leaning into our relationship with Christ. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to teach them how to have their own faith if we don't have our own faith.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. And I think it's a good witness and a good model for them to see, hey, I watched my mom or dad grow in these areas, or, hey, my mom went back to school and got a degree or whatever. Like just seeing a constant desire to improve or a movement in growth.
Yeah. Be a lifelong learner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, listen to podcasts like Family on Purpose. Or any other podcast that help you be a better you.
Right.
I believe God created each of us individually, uniquely, with special gifts and calling. We are his handiwork created for good works ahead of us, but there is an equipping for those good works. He can create it, but if it's not equipped in us, then we might miss out on the opportunity of those good works. Let's make sure that we as parents are improving, and we not only demonstrate it, but we teach it to our children for them to continually be improving.
Right.
This is why we give excellence at school. This is why we give excellence at sports. Hey, even though we're out for the summer, we're not going to do nothing. Right. Let's improve ourselves. There's a saying in sports that champions are made in the off season, because that's when they do the work. That's when they work out. That's when they grow in strength and conditioning and ability, and they work on skills that they can't work on skills during the season. Let's be the kind of family, parents and children, that are constantly working on our skills and development in the off season.
That's great. And I think that growth mentality can come through a few different ways. One, looking into your kids at, hey, I see this talent in you. Go for more. Go for greater. Right. And I also think through encouragement. So speaking that over them and encouraging them, hey, we're not going to, like you mentioned for the summer, we're not going to loaf around on the couch. Hey, what is this skill that we can develop? What is something that we can learn? What is something that we can grow further in? Having conversation about those growth areas.
Yeah, that's good. We want you to set your kids up for success. And one of the greatest ways you can do that is to encourage your children to have a growth mentality in themselves, to push them, to encourage them, to see that the world is an opportunity and the potential is endless if they apply themselves and develop themselves.
Yep. And relying on the Lord for that, because in our weakness, his strength is made perfect. And so acknowledging, hey, I don't really have what it takes, but I know that God can strengthen me to do this.
Which is a phrase that I hear from adults who are surrendered and submitted to the Lord and have a growth mentality and want to improve. So let's begin that at an early age so that our children don't have to start from zero. Yep. They start from whatever is a higher number than zero. I don't know what the scale goes up to, 1,000,000, bazillion. So the third key to setting your children up to success is have a growth mentality for them and for you.
That's great. Number 4, key way to set your child up for success is helping them with the choosing of their friends. So not only are we helping them select their wife and in on that participation, but we're also participating as parents with their friendships. And I think a wealth of knowledge comes from the scriptures for us. So Proverbs 13:20 says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Also, 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Why on earth would we continually subject our kids to friendships of bad character that could corrupt their good character?
It's a great question. Psalm 1 says it, right? A wise man does not walk in the way of the wicked.
That's right.
Hey, those would be your friends.
Mhm.
And it also tells us what we want is we want a friend that sticks closer than a brother
right.
in times of trouble.
That's right.
Okay, so how do you help a child choose their friends? And is that too controlling?
Okay, your first question is, how do you help your child choose their friends? And I think for me, one thing that has been with me since the get-go of having kids is just praying for godly friends for them. And then there have been times where we've had a flood of friends, and then there's been times of fewer friends. And it's kind of been a wave. And especially in the homeschool world, like if you're doing a lot of stuff at home, there have been seasons where they were younger and we were focusing on some things at home and we didn't have a lot of that community. But just praying for God to bring that right community. And he's totally answered that in ways that like specific prayers that I've prayed, but showing them, hey, these are good friends. Just like we talked about with this spouse, hey, these are good qualities. These are good character traits. Or pointing out, okay, hey, I want to caution you against this person.
Right.
It is not controlling, in my opinion, because we're looking out for their best. And I see it as more of a protection. And I think there are some points where you will have to pull a control card. For instance, if a friend was offering your kids drugs or alcohol at underage, I think it's okay to be very controlling in that point and say, okay, hey, wait, we're going to sever this friendship for right now while that other child is participating in these things. If that child gets cleaned up, no problem, welcome back. But if they are influencing your children, I think that it is your duty, for the worse, I think that it is your duty to protect your children. And I think it is counsel. It's godly counsel with scripture telling us, hey, get a wealth of counselors around you. And so it's not choosing, yes, you can be their friend. No, you can't. Sometimes you will have to say that. But it's pointing out those, oh, hey, I noticed this in so-and-so. That's a really good quality. Or, okay, hey, I want to caution you. I'm consistently seeing the same behavior in one of these friends. Hey, be aware.
Yep. Hey, this person always has a negative attitude. They're complaining. All the stuff, right? Yeah. It's funny. I was preparing for this. I was thinking, man, I have gotten into more trouble with my friends than with any other group of people. I mean, I never got into trouble with my enemies. I never got into trouble with people I didn't like. I got into trouble with my friends. So you got to have good friends.
That's right.
To get out of trouble. I'm kidding. You got to have good friends to make sure you don't get into trouble. And I think you're right. I think that there is a line that as parents, we have to be encouraging. We have to point out something that as a child or as a teenager, maybe they don't see as much. Hey, I recognize these tendencies or behaviors because we have decades more experience than them.
Right.
Their frontal lobes aren't even fully developed yet. But I think it ultimately, number 2, helping choose their spouse, and number 4, choose their friends, both of them require trust. If you came in today with a hard line, hey, he can't be your friend, she can't be your friend, and there's no trust, well, then you're going to have rebellion, you're going to have pushback, you're going to have all the stuff. But it requires trust over time so that we can be trusted, wise advisors in their life.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know who said this phrase to give them proper recognition, but I've heard it several times of show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future. And I think showing the kids that, hey, okay, look at your closest friends, whether they're 2, 5, 6, 10, whatever the number is. Hey, where are they trending? Where are they going? And is that a place that you want to go?
Right.
I think that there is a lot of truth in that quote, just because the level of influence that's there.
Well, if you're on a boat on the river, guess which way you're going? Down current, right? So you're going to go with the current of your friends. Yeah. You're on for the ride. And I mean, let's think about this. Somebody gave this scenario to me a long time ago. Let's say you have a kid, they're a teenager, and they are a great kid. They would never get into stuff that they shouldn't get into. But they get in a car with 3 other people who are bad influences. You get pulled over by the cops, and one of those people in the car had drugs. Now, when the police come and ask your child, is it yours? They're going to say, no, it's not mine. When they start asking the other 3, what are those 3 going to say? It's not mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not mine. It's not mine. So if it's nobody's in the car, but everybody's in the car, guess whose it is? It's everybody's.
Right.
You all get in trouble. Mm-hmm. So even if we have a kid that wouldn't do the wrong thing, hanging out with the wrong people definitely influence that. Second story is I heard a teacher used to take a bag of apples and put like 1 apple in the bag and leave it there for a week and see how it absolutely spoils the rest of the apples. Because we all know the phrase, 1 bad apple
spoils the whole bunch.
Spoils the whole bunch. So let's make sure, not that I want to call a kid a bad apple, but we can identify, I can look back on my childhood and recognize he was a bad influence. He was a bad influence. I mean, I could tell you names. That guy was a bad influence, without a doubt. And we as parents need to be trusted. While you're laughing, you're thinking of 1 or 2 of my stories?
No, I'm not thinking of your stories, although I do know them. I'm thinking of a kid called Chicken Bok Bok.
Chicken Bok Bok.
Okay.
Chicken Bok Bok is a bad influence.
Okay, so we used to go to a co-op for homeschool, and the kids were probably like 4 and 5, I think, at this time.
They were young.
And I was teaching the PE class there, and there was this unruly kid. He was so horrible acting. He was going to public school, but then the mom thought he was getting picked on by the public school teacher, so then she homeschooled him. He goes to the co-op. He's in my class. He wants to like spit on me, and the other kids are like grab or whatever. And I don't even know how our family named this kid Chicken Bok Bok.
You don't?
No.
You guys were playing a game, and I think it was Duck, Duck, Goose or something.
Okay.
And for the whole game, all he did was balk like a chicken. Like you would ask him a question, and his response was bark, bark, bark.
Okay, so we started calling, not to his face, but behind him.
Only behind his back. So really, take our advice.
Which makes it better. Also, I now realize our children's ages, because they weren't reading, so I think that they were 3 and 4 at the time, because I remember going into Target, and they had these Santa's good list and Santa's naughty list.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like from waving from the ceiling on these cloths, and it had just like scribble on there and stuff. And I remember there was Santa's bad list, and they were like, Mom, whose name's on there? I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell, but it looks like Chicken Bok Bok on there. But
Chicken Bok Bok, he's on the naughty list.
So anyways, but that was a kid that, yeah, for sure, I had... Can you believe we're talking about this?
Chicken Bok Bok. Don't let your kids...
Have you guys ever seen a chicken bok bok in your life? Maybe he didn't balk like a chicken, but it was definitely a kid that you're like, okay, I don't want my kid being friends with this.
Oh, we've all seen them.
And at that point, our kids being 3 and 4, I'm like, okay, that is not a relationship that I'm going to invest in. In fact, it's a relationship that I'm going to go the other way with, just because obviously you don't want your children being spit on and grabbed and so forth. And so,
well, you make a great point. You don't want your kid subject to that behavior, and you don't want your kid to imitate that behavior.
Right.
Now, granted, our children were very young. That would be a high influence if they were hanging out and hanging out together. But it's the same thing. Used to lead boys groups at church, and there were some kids in there, right? Hey, that kid's unruly. He's disrespectful. Yeah. He's unruly. Jack, you're not going to be buddies with that guy. Don't be friends with Chicken Bok Bok.
That's
Number 4, don't let your children be friends with Chicken Bok Bok.
Yes. Yes.
The 5th way, or the 5th key you can set your children up for success, is helping them with financial stewardship and understanding.
That's right. That's right. And there's so many things, like when you think about the scripture passages, like in Ecclesiastes, to like not love money, to not love wealth. I mean, there's so many things, like, okay, the love of money, and you can't serve 2 masters, but then also just stewarding their money well, not becoming in debt. And we can go over some scriptures, to the point of being a cheerful giver.
Right.
So I think it's such a broad stroke on finances that it's not just about being in debt.
No.
It's not just about, loving it. I think there's so many elements of finances that need to be taught to our kids.
Well, I read somewhere or heard on a podcast that I think Jesus talks about finances 3 times more than he talks about any other subject.
Really?
Because it goes ultimately, hey, where a man's heart is, there his treasure lies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so many people in this world, their heart and their treasure is in their actual treasure, in their money.
Right.
And it's easy. And Jesus knew the heart of a man. Mm-hmm. 1, he is a man and fully God, but 2, he was around and understood and helped create men and women. And so he understands the trappings there and the difficulties, which oftentimes come to finances.
That's right.
So as a parent, if we can help our children understand finances, be on top, not beneath, be ahead of, not behind finances, how they work, how to make them work for you, how to be responsible, how to be wise, and how to be a steward with the blessings God has given you, man, they'll be successful.
That's right.
Because that will be a mastery in their life, not being mastered by finances.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of being mastered by finances, the Bible speaks of you can't love both money and God. But Ecclesiastes 5:10, he who loves money is never satisfied. And I think in this day and age, so many people look for satisfaction through money. And then you see some of the richest people out there who are some of the most unsatisfied people, because our satisfaction comes from Christ. And so if we are chasing after money, it's just a temporary fix. And we don't want to instill a love of money in our kids. Yes, do we want them to be financially free, financially independent human beings, financially wise? Absolutely. But not at the expense for chasing money, at the expense of their character or their joy.
Well, you're right. And you talk about being free. I think discipline leads to freedom. And so as counterintuitive as it is, being disciplined financially leads to financial freedom. And it's just like the law of Christ. We would think, Paul talks about the law of Christ actually brings us to freedom, not because it constricts us and refines us that we can only do these things, but because it gives us so much freedom to be free from sin. And I think there's often a correlation there. Hey, when we are disciplined financially, we're free because we know, not because you'd save over decades, but because when we live on a budget, it's actually freer and better because you don't have the worry or the weight of, well, are we performing? Are we going broke? What are we doing? And I want our children to have that. And I know you want your children to have that as well. The financial freedom that comes from discipline, but the discipline comes from understanding why you are doing something.
Yep. I agree. Taking a look at the scriptures, the building of the tower, counting the cost ahead of time. Proverbs 22:7 says, the rich rule over the poor and the borrower is a slave to the lender. And we don't want our children in slavery.
Right.
Debt is a form of slavery. And sometimes, for Derek, he was a finance major. Okay. Finance probably comes super easy to you. But someone who's not trained in there are so many resources out there, like Dave Ramsey's Financial Freedom or Financial Peace. Is that what it's called?
Financial Peace.
Man, look at wealth advisors. See what resources and books they have if you feel ill-equipped for it. And the Proverbs, I think it talks so much about money and work. And, the ant is not a sluggard and is working through there, just teaching your children, work and handling the finances, and teach them against a love of greed and instill in them a joy to give and let them see you give cheerfully, and they will model that. Yeah. Because sometimes it's hard to start something that we've never seen before. Hey, maybe you didn't grow up in a family that was giving and And then you just kind of repeat whatever you live, that family life that you lived in.
Yep.
So, hey, go out there and give. There are needs to be met in this world. And I believe that we are blessed to be a blessing.
I think so too. Okay. 5th thing that you can do to lead your child and set them up for success is to teach them financial stewardship and set them free. Set them free.
That's right. Number 6, Derek added this one, and it is called raw skills. Teach your children raw skills.
Raw skills.
I just want to say the first time I heard him use this phrase, raw skills, was when he taught our daughter, who was probably 2 years old, how to unlock our front door, which is like what every mom would want their 2-year-old to know how to do. And so they're like sitting there at the door, unlock. And I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I'm teaching her raw skills. Like, I don't want her to know that raw skill. Like, you want your children, you want to know you've locked the door and the 2-year-old's not going over there if you get busy and walking out the front door.
In all fairness, it was my buddy Jeff who told me about raw skills after I taught Sawyer how to unlock the door.
Well, that goes back to choosing your friends then, and see how Jeff influenced you.
No. He told me that I was teaching her raw skills, not to teach her how to unlock the door.
Gotcha. Okay. He
defined raw skills. Thanks, Jeff. Here's how raw skills matter and look for today. We have teenagers. We want to teach our teenagers how to order food, how to make a phone call. Gina's got a friend, owns her own business, and she hires young people, teenagers or in college as interns, and they are scared to death to make a phone call. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to do it.
They would rather do a text, an email,
they would rather
a verbal
flop
conversation
on the floor probably than make a phone call.
Yeah.
There's one video, I'll see if I can link it in the description or cut it in here, where a mom sits next to a son and she makes him make the phone call
for a dentist
appointment and make the appointment. And he about squirms out of his chair. Mm-hmm. These raw skills are going to get our children through life.
Oh, yeah.
Let's make sure they know how to change a tire, how to fill up their car with gas, how to do an online, how to fill out an application, how to have a job interview.
Right.
Right?
Right. And I think even job interviews is very relevant for right now, because kids they're losing that face-to-face communication and even knowing how to conduct themselves. Like I saw in the news, it was like stats on job interviews, and it was like 74% don't make eye contact of interviewees.
Yes, I'm real interested. Thank you very much.
And so, just, for me, when I think about raw skills, I think about, and I put it here in my notes, raising a confident and a competent person, to have those competencies of doing anything, and just things that we would consider common, that now this world is unlearning those common things,
Well, and if we can teach our children raw skills, we will put them in the upper percentage, and they will be outliers just because of baseline stuff that they can do. Yeah. Can they? Now, balancing a checkbook does not exist. Mm-hmm. We have a checkbook. It lasts us a couple years because we write 2 checks a year. One of them is to the HOA for our neighborhood, right? But can they make a budget and understand it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's right. Yep. So the goal is competent and confident children in all things, raw skills.
That's it.
Just not teaching your 2-year-old how to unlock the front door.
True. Which I think raw skills builds upon having a growth mentality. When they're young, that growth mentality is simple and easy things. Mm-hmm. As we get older, that gets a little bit more defined.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've even had to take on that growth mentality. I can think about technology and just the evolution of it, and cell phones and all these things. And I don't understand how to do it. And then finally I'm like, that thing is not going to master me. I'm going to master it. And so thinking of things like a puzzle, I'm going to solve this puzzle. I can do this. And having that lifelong learning mentality that you were speaking of, because things are going to continue to change and evolve. And so, grow in all things.
Number 7, the 7th key to setting your children up for success is helping them understand, identify, and work towards a career. Where are they naturally gifted? Mm-hmm. Where has God gifted them or blessed them with skills or abilities? Where are they interested? And where do those things overlap?
Yep. It's so
And
good.
how can they succeed in a career based on today's and the future society?
That's right. We've had this conversation a lot with our kids because they are in their teenage years. And I kind of just like make my fingers like this. I'm like, what are your natural giftings? What are your talents? Where do they intersect? And how can you make a living
Right.
doing that? I think today, as I coach our children, it's more about where are you going to flourish and thrive? Because I know for my first job out of college, it was not in a place that I was going to flourish. It was to pay bills. And I think so many times people get into careers like that and then they live this unfulfilled life because I didn't pray about where I should work at. It was available. I took it and then I was there and I did not like it. And so teaching your kids where's somewhere you're going to find joy, where are you going to flourish, where are you going to thrive, where are you going to be a gift at and use your giftings.
Very true. Very true. And what's a need? What's a need that you can, because they might be really gifted at 19th century Russian pottery, but there's not really a market for that in the open world. And for us as parents, having a long enough view to say, a few years ago, Jack was interested in graphic design. That's great. Love it, dude. Play with it, have fun with it, understand it. But now that artificial intelligence can do 90% of the graphic design automatically, hey, I don't know if that's a great career path unless you're the guy manipulating artificial intelligence, but that's a different skill than just graphic design. So let's encourage them, let's identify, and let's lead them with wisdom and not let them choose 19th century Russian pottery as a career path and go into, undergraduate and graduate school, $150,000 in debt so that they wake up and they have this gigantic financial burden on them that they can't overcome.
And also allowing your children to be individuals through their career. Because you see so many, well, my grandfather was a dentist and my dad was a dentist and my uncle's a dentist. And so I'm supposed to be a dentist. And and grandfather and dad and uncle can't stand being a dentist. Don't put your child through that. Like, understand they are a unique individual created with a unique purpose for them.
That's right. And even if dad, grandpa, uncle, I can't remember who you said, if everybody loved being a dentist, that doesn't mean you have to love being a dentist.
Exactly.
Michael Dell has a great story about that. The guy who started Dell Computers, his parents wanted him to be a doctor and he loved computers. In fact, he was running a business out of his dorm room at the University of Texas, making, and this is in the early 80s, like $60,000 to $80,000 a year out of his dorm room. And his parents said, no, you've got to shut that down and go be a doctor. And he just said no.
Yeah.
And they lost it. So don't put your kids in that type of a position where it is, you have to do what I say or our relationship is on the line.
Right. And it's about coaching your children. Coach them well. So number 7 key is helping your child identify a great career for them that they will thrive using their gifts and talents. Number 8, and our final key to setting your child up for success, is believing in them and tell them that you believe in them. Why is that so important?
Well, we have a whole episode about the weight of your words, and I would encourage you to go back and watch that and listen to it because your words matter. Your words shape who your children believe themselves to be, and not just at 5 years old or 15 years old, but at 25 and 35 and 45. So if you are older and you have adult children, your words still matter and they still need to know that you believe in them.
That's right.
I think the Lord speaks through parents often. And parents, because they know their children so well, this is an opportunity to say, I see potential in you and I believe in you. Don't let it go past and don't be afraid to say it, even if it's awkward, even if it's unrehearsed, even if you don't know exactly what to say. I encourage parents to say it.
Yep, that's right. I read an article one time and I tried to find it as we were preparing for this. And it was the most fascinating article of all of these famous people who have gone on to do great things. And it was like an ode to their parents. And person after person, it was like, well, my mom said, maybe someone became the president. My mom told me at 5 years old I was going to be the president, and she told me that every year growing up, and I just knew I had what it took to do that. Or I know you mentioned Tim Tebow, and his story of what was exactly?
It was, hey, when your parents tell you every day that you can do anything you want and change the world, at some point, you just start to believe them.
That's right. And so what a gift you can give to your kids by believing in them. Obviously, when we say anything regarding our words, it's always authentic. It's always true. It's always genuine, because they will identify in you if you're just saying words to say it. But truly speak life into them. The scriptures tell us that our words have the power of life or death. Infuse life. Be a life-giving speaker, an encourager over your children. Their whole lives. Their whole
entire lives. Yeah. I agree. Believe in them, speak life, and actually tell them, like eyeball to eyeball, face to face, in front of them, to their face, I believe in you, and I know that you can accomplish your dreams. And here is why.
Yep.
And then give a why, because the why is the power behind what you believe and what you see in them.
That's right. That's right. I always love that you add that, because why you can do this. That gets ingrained in someone's mind and gives them hope for their future. And we want them to believe in themselves, and they need to know that we believe in them.
Well, look at David. Goliath was standing there, and David said, he ain't no thing, right? I've killed lions and bears, and so I have this confidence to move forward.
That's right.
Hey, let's tell the stories. Let's reinforce the thoughts of, hey, remember when you overcame that challenge?
Right.
Remember when you aced that test? Remember when you took that job and you were nervous about it? Remember when you made that presentation? Yeah. Tell the stories. I believe in you, and here's why.
It's great. That is great. I love this list of 8 things. It is inspiring and it's encouraging. And I encourage each of you parents, download the episode guide to this, print it off, implement these things, do whatever you can. I mean, the scriptures tell us kids are a gift from God. Enjoy your gift, treat them like a gift, and help them to become all that God has created them to be.
Okay, top 8 ways in which you can set your children up for success. This is not an exhaustive list, and it's definitely not homework. We want you to choose 1 or 2 and implement it this week with your children and see if it makes a difference. We would love to have you there, have you as a subscriber and a contributor to Family on Purpose, so that we can help more families be family on purpose and live on purpose.